Greetings everyone and welcome to the sixth and last video of the video series on coping with adversity and recovering from crisis. This time we will talk about our well-being and engage in creative ways to increase it in our lives and in lives of others. Firstly, we will take a look at what well-being means and similarly to previous videos mention some of the types of well-being that form an important part of our everyday lives. Secondly, instead of me lecturing you on other important theoretical concepts with regard to well-being, we will take a quiz together and go through those concepts in a slightly more interesting manner. And after that, we will engage in creating a personalized well-being plan so that you can have something tangible at the end of this video that you can instantly apply to improve your well-being from this day forward. Finally, we will end our journey by engaging in one last exercise. And now, if you're ready, let's get to it. Once again, there are many definitions out there for well-being, and if I sum them up with the simplest sentence possible, this would be it. Well-being is the state of optimal functioning, whether that refers to our physical state, mental state, emotional state, financial state. You see where I'm going with this. If we refer to the optimal functioning of all of these states together, then we're talking about our overall well-being. What we need to keep in mind is that my well-being will not be the same as your well-being. As much as we can talk about well-being in general, in terms of something that we all need and want, this will most of the time have a different meaning for each individual. For example, someone who is struggling with an illness will define well-being as being healthy, and once this someone restores his health, he will say that he restored his well-being. On the other hand, for a healthy individual that struggles at school, his well-being will be compromised by the intellectual or learning component. For him, being healthy will be taken for granted in a way, but that math exam next Wednesday, say goodbye to well-being until that's over. Let's say the same person catches a cold one day after the exam. Do you think he will say that his well-being is compromised again? Of course not. He just survived his worst nightmare of the school year. He probably won't even notice his nose running or the annoying cough at night. Or if we take another example, those who have issues in their relationship but are financially in a very good place won't even consider well-being as something related to the material world. They will say that their well-being depends on the emotional aspect and that in order to improve their well-being, they need to solve the issues in their relationship. As you can see, well-being for the most part is something subjective, as well as something changeable. For example, someone who has a great social group, either at work or in their private life, therefore an amazing group of friends, will be happy with his well-being in that perspective. But at some point, as this is real life after all, a conflict may arise, and that's when we will feel the need to restore our well-being in that particular aspect. Another type of well-being is mental well-being, which refers to our optimal functioning in terms of our mental health and cognition, therefore our thinking patterns. And there are many more, but I would like to introduce these 6 types of well-being in this video: physical, intellectual, emotional, financial, social, and mental. And now let's continue this video with the next section that we will implement in a shape of a quiz. The first question I would like to ask you is, what do you think it means to live in a state of well-being? A, to be joyful, carefree, and to feel great all the time. B, to lead a meaningful life no matter the circumstances. Or C, to keep balance in all the important areas of your life. You have 5 seconds to pick your answer. Okay, time's up. And the answer is B. But, if I'm being honest, in this case it can also be A or C. So good news, whatever you picked, it's correct, as long as there's an explanation to it. Let me give you mine so that you understand what I'm talking about. We mentioned that well-being is subjective, therefore its meaning basically depends on you. In my case, I know that well-being for me is finding meaning in even the smallest things every day. When the days are good and when I'm in a good place in my life, that comes naturally and without much effort from my side. On the other hand, when difficult days come, it's slightly more challenging. That's when we need to remind ourselves of the things we can be grateful for and to put some effort into pursuing meaningful things even if we are down in the dumps and feeling blue. Therefore, in my case, what well-being means to me is a state that can be achieved even in adversity with the help of gratitude and purposeful actions. Something like getting a glass of water every day. Sometimes it's full, sometimes less full, but you're grateful even for the one drop of water that you get to satisfy your thirst. On the other hand, there may come a day when you receive a glass and the water inside is not drinkable, so you find a new purpose and use it to water a plant, for example. The downside of defining your well-being with the answer B is that we usually don't enjoy the things that are not meaningful to us, and logically, not everything can be meaningful to you. Some things just aren't, but they might be for someone else, and that's when our well-being can suffer. Therefore, on those days that we receive an empty glass and realize that there is no way we can fill that one, well, let's say we are far from enjoying ourselves. So to conclude, well-being is a state we can be in no matter the circumstances, as long as we find meaning in these circumstances and our actions. On the other hand, for a friend of mine, well-being refers to just those times when he's having fun and when he feels carefree. He experiences well-being when he's out with his gang, playing football or video games, partying, and when having a successful day at work. So if I asked him this question, the correct answer for him would be A. The positive aspect of individuals defining well-being this way is that they know exactly what are the things that make them happy and what they should do to get into the state of well-being. The negative side of this is that these individuals don't give themselves a chance to explore the ways to reach well-being even when they engage in less pleasant things. For example, shopping with their girlfriend. For them, well-being is like a switch that's on during the football match, but instantly switches off when there's housework on the schedule or something of the sort. This, of course, refers to the example of this friend of mine. You might describe your well-being switch differently, in case your answer is A. And then I have another friend who feels she's in a state of well-being when she has all the areas of her life under control: work, health, training, relationship, finances, aesthetics, and socializing. Therefore, she experiences well-being when there are no major issues in any of the mentioned areas, when things are going smoothly, generally speaking. The benefit of defining well-being this way is that you tend to devote enough time and care into all of the important areas in your life, without neglecting things that are essential for you leading a happy life. The issue arises when they try too hard to control many aspects of their lives at the same time, so they can actually make the intention towards achieving well-being stressful. So defining well-being this way is something like having many plants with colorful pots. Your life is full and adventurous with all the diversity and action in many different areas. Also, if one of the pots breaks, you have several others to keep you company and support you while you repair the broken one. But once the plants grow and they lean each on one side or even grow in spirals, it might get overwhelming to take care and have control over all of them. To finalize the first quiz question, all of the answers are correct and they all have their pros and cons. So the real question is, which one is correct for you? Moving on to the second question, which statement of the three is incorrect? That psychological well-being involves hedonic well-being based on instant gratification. That psychological well-being involves eudaimonic well-being based on purposeful actions. Or that eudaimonic well-being is more important than hedonic well-being. You have 5 seconds to pick your answer. Okay, time's up, and the answer is C. Eudaimonic well-being is not more important than hedonic. But guess what? Hedonic well-being is not more important than eudaimonic well-being either. So let me explain these two concepts a bit further in order for you to understand better. Hedonic and eudaimonic well-being are two types of well-being that construct psychological well-being. I told you that there are many types and subtypes of well-being out there. Psychological well-being is a wider category compared to the others that we mentioned before, as it involves our relationship with others, personal growth, meaning in life, and more. Now, here are some of the authors that did their fair share amount of research on this topic. However, you should know that this knowledge goes way back to ancient times. Aristotle defined eudaimonia as doing well and living well, referring to the highest good we can achieve as human beings. Eudaimonic well-being therefore refers to realizing our human potential, to engaging in meaningful activities, and to searching for purpose in our actions. It also includes building meaningful relationships with others and the feeling that we are in charge of our life. On the other hand, hedonic well-being is more short-term, if we can put it that way. It refers to seeking instant joy and avoid unpleasant situations and pain at all costs. Hedonic well-being refers to the presence of positive emotions and feelings and the absence of negative ones. Later on, Diener and Sue added life satisfaction as an important factor to hedonic well-being, this one representing the cognition or the mental interpretation of our life in addition to the emotional aspects we mentioned previously. Therefore, sometimes we will instantly submit to our wishes and needs, for example, watch our favorite series first and study after, and sometimes we'll do it the other way around. In the first case, we will indulge into positive emotions and a dopamine boost and avoid the unpleasant tasks we ought to do for as long as possible and then engage in them the last minute. And in the second case, we will study first as we look ahead in time. In this case, we know that if we fail the exam, we will have to study the whole summer for the next one. So in a way, we sacrifice our free time now in order to get the reward afterwards, even if we have to wait for a longer period of time in order to receive it. However, sometimes hedonic well-being turns out to be more beneficial. Let's say you have pushed yourself too much at your job and you urgently need to take a break. People that keep pushing themselves in such cases in order to reap rewards in the distant future, for example, a raise, promotion, and so on, are most likely going to suffer from burnout due to the large amount of stress they undergo to achieve that specific goal. In this case, it would be much more efficient for those individuals to just take a break and use the days off to recover and fill up their batteries. To summarize, hedonic and eudaimonic well-being are both equally as important in our everyday lives. What we need to pay attention to is the nature of the situation, challenges, and of course our personalities. Regarding the latter, if there was a general formula to improve our psychological well-being, I would say that we ought to balance out our hedonic and eudaimonic well-being. If you're someone who tends to indulge in instant gratification in some area most of the time, try to find activities in that area that will be meaningful to you and that will encourage you to put some effort and patience in order to receive your reward. You will see that delayed gratification is in most cases much more powerful than instant access. On the other hand, if you never let yourself eat that cake or watch that series when you feel like it, try to give yourself a break every now and then. Life is to live it with purpose, but also to simply enjoy it. Balance the two, and your psychological as well as your overall well-being will improve significantly. And now for the final question of this quiz. Do you think that the following sentence is true or false? Is well-being something that's beyond our control, or is it something that we can work on and achieve? Okay, time's up. And the answer is, as with stress, adversity, mental resilience, and recovering from crisis, well-being is also something we can affect by giving our input to it. And what is the best way to achieve it? By making it a habit. I mean, come on, we stress out almost every day, which means it is definitely a habit by now. Why not make feeling good a habit as well? Especially now, in these times of adversity and change due to the world pandemic. The nervousness in people is already notable. I saw so many individuals that are truly not handling it well. But guess what? Even if you're as cool as a cucumber and you're managing the situation, once you go out and end up surrounded by 50 stressed out individuals, your coolness will eventually be replaced by tightness in your jaw and fists. That's why we all should give this a go. Engage in at least one well-being activity per day, and instead of developing a habit of being miserable as a result of this pandemic, go for something less obvious. Gratitude, patience, empathy, mental resilience, and of course, well-being. Just to make something clear before we proceed with our main exercise of this video. Making well-being a habit does not mean that we are aiming for feeling bliss and joy every single day for the rest of our lives. I mean, that doesn't sound bad at all, right? But we all know it's not realistic. What we are aiming for is engaging in well-being activities daily in making those activities an effortless habit of our everyday lives, as by doing this, we will give ourselves a chance to experience joy every single day despite the stress and adversity and other unpleasantries we might be facing that day. And now, without further ado, take the downloadable worksheet, check out the suggestions to improve your well-being in the 6 categories we mentioned in the first part of this video, and add 2 of your own for each one. You can Google to get some ideas, or even better, you can think of your own. That's why I gave this video the title, The Art of Well-Being, as we can be actually very creative in improving this wonderful state within ourselves. You have 2 minutes. Okay, time's up. Feel free to pause in case you need more time. The second step will be to pick the category that you would like to improve the most and pick 3 suggestions from there. Write them down on your personalized well-being plan that you can find on your worksheet. And after that, I would like you to choose 2 other categories and pick 1 activity from each, and add those to your list as well. So after completing this step, you should have 5 well-being activities on your personalized well-being plan. You have 1 minute for this step. Okay, time's up. Before we proceed, I would like to clear something out, as some of you might be thinking, why don't I pick 5 things from the category I wish to improve the most? There are 2 reasons behind this. First of all, we don't want to over-focus on our lack. Putting too much attention on improving our well-being in a certain category might actually lead to stress, so we want to keep things balanced and easygoing. And the second reason is that even though we engage ourselves in activities for, let's say, our physical well-being, we might actually improve other aspects of well-being at the same time. If we take exercising as an example, it's good for your shape and physical health, but it improves your mental health, your thinking capacities and learning capabilities, and add to your overall happiness as well. It can even be good for bonding with others if you get to exercise together with someone. So you will most probably target your number one category with activities from the other two, and vice versa. Let's go for the next step. Pick up your calendar and pick 3 out of the 5 things for each day of the next 2 weeks. So make a different combination for each day and write those combinations down for the next 14 days. 1 minute for this one. Okay, time's up. And now the final thing that we should do to make engaging and well-being activities a habit. They say that to form a habit we need 66 days, although sometimes it takes less and sometimes more. But let's take this number as a reference. So what is left for you to do is to continue with 3 well-being activities a day for the next 2 months. Feel free to try out and choose other suggestions from the categories you picked, or even change categories along the way. The important thing is to practice well-being activities every day and make this a habit in order to reap the benefits in your life. The very thought of you reaching the state of happiness, health, love, meaning, or whatever well-being means to you in just 2 months, so basically in no time, fills me with joy and makes me very happy at this moment. Before we go to our last recap, I would like to encourage you to engage in one last activity. Viktor Frankl, survivor of Holocaust and founder of logotherapy, which is based on living a life of purpose and meaning, said that one of the most powerful things that can drive us forward in life, even in most difficult times, is a relationship with others. So what I would like to encourage you to do is to make a nice gesture to someone that means a lot to you today. And also, if you would like to make a step further, I would like you to do something nice, kind, and selfless to a stranger or someone that you know but you don't think deserves it. Also today, or at the first opportunity that you get. By doing that, you will complete the last exercise of this video series. And of course, there will be nothing wrong if you decide to repeat this tomorrow or in the near future. You can even add doing a kind and selfless act to one of your well-being activities. And now for the final recap. We started off by defining well-being and checking out the different areas where reaching the state of well-being might contribute positively to our everyday lives. We accentuated 6 of these areas in this video: physical, intellectual, emotional, financial, social, and mental. Then we continued with the second part of this video, where we used the form of a quiz to take a look into some other important aspects of well-being that we ought to take note of. The first thing was to understand that for most part, well-being is subjective and that it can mean a different thing to each of us. The important thing here is to understand what well-being means to you and to analyze the pros and cons of this interpretation. Secondly, we discovered another type of well-being and learned a thing or two about hedonic and eudaimonic perspective and how balancing these 2 approaches can help us improve our psychological well-being. Then we engaged in creating our unique personalized well-being plan for the next 2 weeks, which was just a practice lesson for you to implement your well-being plans daily for the next 2 months and engage in making well-being a habit. Finally, I gave you instructions for the ultimate well-being booster that can help you to find meaning even in difficult times and bring a smile to someone's face along the way. I would like to thank you for watching these video series. I really hope that you enjoyed them and that the activities we did will help you overcome challenges in your life. If you have any questions or feedback, you can find my contact information in the video description. Thanks again and have a wonderful day.